Hello everyone. In this walkthrough, I'll guide you through a comprehensive financial data visualizations project built with Matplotlib, Seaborn, and Y-Finance, plus some tools from Fred. We cover stock price charts, volume analysis, technical indicators, trading strategy backtesting, yield curves, inflation data with recession highlighting, yield curve animation, sector rotation analysis, and even bond price sensitivity. So let's dive right in. So this is the stock price chart with volume and moving averages. So first, I import the required libraries, Y-Finance for data retrieval, Pandas, and NumPy for data manipulation, and Matplotlib as well as Seaborn for plotting. So first, I define a list of tickers, Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Walmart, and set the date range from January 1st, 2003 to January 1st, 2024. Next, I download the close price data for these tickers and separately download the volume data. This will allow me to analyze both price and trading volume trends. I calculate the daily returns using percentage change, then compute the standard deviation as daily volatility by multiplying the square root of 252. I analyze the volatility. All right. And then for detailed view, I focus on Apple. I download the historical data, extract the closing prices, and calculate the 20-day and 50-day sample moving averages. And then I plot these values on a line chart, the raw closing price along with the 20-day and 50-day moving averages, helping to visualize the trend and support resistance levels over time. I calculate the average volume across all tickers by taking the mean along the rows of the volume data and then plot it using a bar chart. This chart provides insight into overall market activity during our selected period. Lastly, in this section, I calculate the percentage change in Apple's closing price to generate its daily returns. Using Seaborn's histogram with the kernel density estimate, I visualize the distribution of these returns, which helps in understanding the frequency and spread of daily gains and losses. We can see here we have our summary, and then we have our max and minimum daily returns along with the chart with the Apple price chart with moving averages. Volume, average volume analysis, and then Apple daily returns distribution and histogram. All right. And this is our trading. So we have, now let's explore basic technical trading strategy. I downloaded Apple's historic data once again and calculated two moving averages, 5-day and 20-day. I generate trading signals where the strategy goes by buy, the signal equals 1 when the 5-day moving average is above the 20-day average, and sell signal equals -1 when it isn't. To avoid look ahead bias, I shift the signal by 1 day before calculating the strategy's daily returns, which are simply the product of the previous day's signal and the daily return. I compute cumulative returns for both strategy and the market and then plot them on the chart, compare how the strategy would have performed against a simple holding stop. And the chart right here. And then in this section, I bring in treasury data using Fred API. I use my Fred API key as I set up a dictionary with treasury yield series codes corresponding to various maturities from 1 month to 30 years. For each series, I retrieve the most recent yield data and store the maturities in a yield in a separate list. Finally, I plot the yield curve in the maturities with the maturities on the x-axis and yields on the y-axis. The line chart gives us a snapshot of the current interest rate environment in the treasury market. You can see here. Next, I use the Fred API to download the Consumer Price Index, CPI for short, data. I convert CPI into a monthly inflation rate by calculating the percentage change. I also download a recession indicator series, where a value of 1 indicates a recession period. I merge the inflation and recession data into a data frame and plot the inflation rate over time. To highlight recession periods, I add vertical lines on the chart wherever the recession indicator equals 1, providing a clear visual cue of economic downturn. So we can see here, these are the sections of the economic recession. So this would right here indicate the 2008 economic recession. All right, and then for a dynamic perspective, I create an animation to show you how the yield curve changes over time. I defined a date range from January to December 2023, and for each month, I retrieve yield data for each maturity from the Freight API. I store these yield curves in an array where each row represents a different month. Using Matplotlib's animation module, I set up a 2D line plot. The update function changes the yield curve for each frame, updating the title with the current month. This creates an animated visualizations of the evolving yield curve. And here we have our yield curve. All right, and then we go down to sector rotation analysis dashboard. Here, so I downloaded the close price data for a list of sectors, ETFs. And here we can see the list, XLK, XLF, XLE, and so on and so on. Over our chosen date range. I calculate the cumulative return for each ETF by comparing the first and last price in the period, and then create a data frame that sorts the ETFs by their cumulative returns. The results are printed and then visualized with a bar chart, making it easy with sectors outperformed over the period. And then here we have our bar chart, which makes it seem like our cumulative returns are higher when it comes to XLK. And then finally, I introduce a bond pricing tool. I define a function that calculates the price of a bond given its face value, coupon rate, years to maturity, and the current market rate using standard bond pricing formula. I create a grid of market rates from 1 to 10% and maturities from 1 to 30 years using NumPy's mesh grid function. Then calculate the bond price across the grid. The result bond prices are visualized with a filled contour plot. Where the color represents the bond price, the chart demonstrates how bond prices are sensitive to changes in both market interest rates and time to maturity. And here you can see the bond price sensitivity. To wrap up, this project demonstrates a broad range of financial data visualizations, from detailed stock portfolio and portfolio analysis to dynamic yield curves and bond price sensitivity. Each section leverages powerful Python libraries to transform raw data into insightful charts and dashboards that help investors and analysts make informed decisions. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found this walkthrough helpful.